into the car rental business. It's pretty simple actually, but I I really kind of related to real estate because it's simple, but it's not easy per se. So it's a lot of management involved unless you get a good team around you, but it can be done. And I've had a lot of students have a lot of successes. But the first step, you got to realize what you want to do because there's two different ways you can do it. It's multiple platforms. The two most popular are Turo and HireCar. So Turo is going to be more suited for people who want to just rent cars for a weekend, maybe for a prom or something of the sort like that, or maybe for a vacation. Whereas hire car, as I mentioned, is more suited for Uber and Lyft drivers. So I lean more towards hire car because the demand was higher and you have a higher likelihood of getting a long-term renter because those individuals want to utilize the business or the vehicle for business purposes. They want to drive Uber and Lyft, they want to make money. So if they get a good vehicle, they want to have it as long as possible to continually bring in income. But with Turo is great as well, but you won't have more long-term renters. So it's going to be less passive and more of an active management. Um, so if you want to make that more passive, you'll have to put some systems in place so that you're not the one that's handling the frequent pickup and drop offs of the vehicle. But um, to get started, it's typically about 1,500 if you're financing a vehicle. So let me just give you an example to help people understand a little bit easier. So my first vehicle, I spent about 10,000. Typically banks they want about 10% down for the down payment. So your down payment is going to be like a grand, and then you're gonna have to get insurance. So insurance typically requires a down payment as well. Let's say that's about 150. In addition to that, I typically recommend individuals to get an LLC because you want to be a business. You might as well structure it like a business as well. So depending on where you are, in Chicago, that's about 150. So now you're up to 1,300. In addition to that, if you're doing hire car, you're going to need a Uber and Lyft like review, where essentially you go to like a Jiffy Lube or mechanic, and they basically sign off that this vehicle meets the Uber and Lyft requirements. That's only about $50. So now you're at 1,350, and then in addition to that, there's some additional things that you can grab. In Chicago, we have like city stickers that we're required to get, so that's another like $100 to get us to like to that 1450 mark. But not every state or city requires that. So yeah, that's kind of where you get to that 1,500. But once you acquire the vehicle, all you're doing from there is taking some really nice photos for marketing purposes, posting it on the platform, creating the description for the video, and then you just got to make sure that you're pricing it right, so renters will actually rent it. And that's something that I talk about in my course as well, how to analyze the vehicle to make sure that it's meeting whatever your minimum monthly cash flow threshold is. Because I always tell my students, you have to make this business worth it for you, especially if you're going to be if you're going to be active in the management of the business. Because some people may see, $300 a month in cash flow from one vehicle, and that may not be worth it for them. Like for me, my minimum was $400 a month. Um, so you really got to understand why you're getting into business, how much you want to make, and then how you're going to meet that. So that's all things that I talk about in the course. But yeah, that's a basic overview of how to get started. But the big thing is really the management of the business because you got to understand that these are vehicles. This is not a rental property. There's regular maintenance that has to be done on these vehicles. And if you don't take care of your asset, it's not going to take care of you. So that's really, really, really important.
So that's definitely great. So you prefer a higher car over Toro? That's correct, right?
For now, yeah, but I'm actually about to start on Turo in the next couple of weeks. I got a Toyota Corolla that I'm about to throw up on there. But I think I may be transitioning to Turo. I don't know. Their platform has come a long way, and I like the fact that drivers have ratings, owners have ratings. You become a super host. Turo is more like Airbnb than HireCar is. So I'm gonna try out Turo and I'm gonna see what's to it, and hopefully it all pans out. But yeah, I think I'm gonna move away from HireCar mainly because the car is just being used so much, and I don't have time to really keep up with the upkeep, even though I have those systems in place. Plus, with Turo, you sort of have a higher chance of bringing in a little bit more income, but it's more work included in that. But if I have people in place to do that for me, then it shouldn't be an issue. So yeah, I'm gonna try out Turo, and I'll definitely be letting everyone know my experience with that.
All right. Something that I like that you, I said, like, is like you have in almost all your business, you have some type of partnership. So where it's not completely on you. I don't know if you want to, could you explain how you go about building partnership into business? A lot of times, partnership in business is not the best thing, a lot. So how do you go about strategically partnering with different people and different businesses?
Yeah, so at first it was really a trial and error thing because, getting a good partnership is really tough. And you don't really realize that until you get into a bad one. So I had a couple bad partnerships that really didn't pan out, but now I have a kind of different perspective. And I think first and foremost, you really got to evaluate the core values of that individual, because they need to be aligned with yours. And not only that, not only their core values, their work ethic, because people on the surface, they may seem like they have a certain kind of work ethic, but you don't really know until you get in business with them. And I think being in business with someone is, man, that's one of mm, the easiest ways to really figure out how a person is. So it may be a trial and error thing up front, but all you really can do is have your contracts in place, your operating agreements, things of the sort, and really, really make sure you try to do your due diligence to the best of your ability to make sure you won't get screwed on the back end by having a bad partner. Something that's also very important is to have establish roles and responsibilities, because if you just have an operating agreement and you say we're just going to start this business, now when it comes to certain tasks in the business, you don't really know who's going to do them. And if neither person is taking initiative to get things done, or if one person is the type that takes initiative and the other isn't, then the management of that business is going to fall more heavily on that one individual partner. But if you have established roles and responsibilities, then you'll know exactly who's going to be doing what. So there won't be any questions, there won't be any confusion, and that'll just help make the business run a bit smoother. But I always tell people, just related to, if you ever had a 9 to 5, just related to how that business operates. When you get hired, actually before you get hired, when you look at that job listing, it lists out all your roles and responsibilities. So it's really clear. And then, once you get on the job, they lay that out even more thoroughly for you as well. So you're not really ever confused on what you should be doing. So take that same approach when you have your own business and you have partnerships or you have employees. Make it simple for people, so you make it easier on them as well as yourself.
That's good. So one question I have in regard to Toyota hire car, is it possible to do it in every city? Um, I know some city may be saturated in terms of how Ubers and rental cars is. So is it possible to do it in every city?
Yeah, most cities. I can't say every city because I know hire car operates in most of the 50 states, but it really depends on your city and your state. So I give you an example, like New York City, they have very, very tough restrictions on ride sharing. And that's mainly because, even before Uber and Lyft came around, they always had a huge traffic problem. So